is a betrayal of trust to belong to a group, yet openly or secretly oppose its ideals.
President Adama Barrow exposes former Vice President Ousainou Darboe, saying he sacked the UDP leader in order to establish order in the country's governance system. U.S. President Donald Trump has demanded that Russian forces get out of Venezuela following Moscow's deployment of troops to the Latin American nation.
Wayatinna yenyin hamoni miro soto kanyinyon kodo nyin kafunyoma furuka foko ibadilantela.
A 9-year prisoner turned homeless, Mafuji Sonko gets land $175,000 to rebuild a new life. These are the headlines. More coming on your way on The World Today on iAfrica TV. It's midnight in Istanbul, 2 p.m. in Washington State, 2100 GMT. Here in the Gambia, you're watching The World Today Evening Bulletin. We now kick off with our first story. Barely 2 weeks after sacking United Democratic Party top echelons, President Adama Barrow has finally justified his actions, saying the sacking of UDP leader is to establish order in the country's governance system. Presiding over on Thursday the swearing-in of the new Vice President of the Gambia, Dr. Aissatou Toure, 4 ministers and 4 permanent secretaries, President Barrow said it is a betrayal of trust to belong to a group, yet openly or secretly oppose its ideals, objectives, values, agenda, and what it stands for. Saja Sambo has more.
Barely 2 weeks after sacking United Democratic Party top echelons, President Adama Barrow has finally justified his actions, saying the sacking of the UDP leader is to establish order in the country's governance system. Presiding over on Tuesday the swearing-in of the newly Vice President of the Gambia, Dr. Aissatou Toure, 4 ministers and 4 permanent secretaries, President Barrow said it is a betrayal of trust to belong to a group, yet openly or secretly oppose its ideals, objectives, values, agenda, and what it stands for. In other words, one cannot operate in cabinet or within government system and seek to undermine it in order to pursue any other interests. The head of state of the Republic of the Gambia, Adama Barrow, makes this remark openly responding to critics made by SAC Trade Minister Amadou Sani, who blamed President Barrow of showing himself a red card with the sacking of the UDP ministers.
It is a betrayal of trust to belong to a group, yet openly or secretly oppose its ideals. Objectives, values, agenda, and what it stands for. In other words, one cannot operate in cabinet or within a government system and seek to undermine it in order to pursue any other interests. The best citizens in a nation are the genuine patriots who serve selflessly and put the nation and the greater good before any selfish interests.
President Barrow reminded the newly sworn Vice President, cabinet members, and permanent secretaries that as heads of government ministries and technical experts operating within a civil service structure, they must suppress their personal wishes and ambitions and put more weight on the government agenda, as this reflects the will, hopes, and aspirations of the people they are meant to serve.
But holding a cabinet portfolio or the post of permanent secretary does not mean thinking and working exclusively along political lines. The duties and responsibilities associated with your office oblige you to remember that you are head of government ministries and technical experts respectively, operating within a civil service structure. As such, public service rules, regulations, principles, and procedures should guide the discharge of your functions. Your position also requires you to suppress your personal wishes and ambition, and put more weight on government agenda, as this reflects the will, hopes, and aspirations of the people you are meant to serve.
He further said the reshufflement of cabinet came as a result of the lack of compassionate realisticness and the ensuring that justice is done in the interest of the nation from their successors, and that sometimes as a leader, difficult decisions have to be taken to set right what is wrong in order to establish order in governance system.
It is a betrayal of trust to belong to a group, yet openly or secretly oppose its ideals.
President Barrow concluded with reminding the gathering that it's without doubt cabinet is the core of government leadership, and that cabinet represents and portrays the nation as a family. As a result, political differences must not corrupt, undermine, or divide those of them privileged with cabinet assignments. Cabinet should symbolize unity and must not instigate division. Instead, it should be a source of inspiration to unite the citizens and work together as one nation. To achieve this, what they say and do should be consistent in both the public and their private lives. It could be noted that President Barrow on March 15 sacked Husseinu Dabo as Vice President and elevated Health Minister Dr. Aissatou Touré to the post. The President, in a major cabinet reshuffle, also appointed 4 new ministers, namely Dr. Amadou Lamin Samate as Minister of Health, Ami Fabure, Minister of Agriculture, Lamin Job, Minister of Trade, and Fatou Kinte, Minister of Women Affairs, Children and Social Welfare. For the news, I am Sadio Sambu.
President Barrow there firmly and clearly pointing out his stand on the sacking of former Vice President Dabo and 2 other UDP members from the cabinet. Washington was on its own at the UN Security Council meeting on Wednesday after members rejected President Trump's recognition of Israeli sovereignty over the occupied Golan Heights. Syria had called for an emergency meeting of the Council following U.S. President Donald Trump's decision, pointing out that Israel is holding elections on April 9. Justifying Trump's actions, U.S. Ambassador to UN said the proclamation does not affect the 1974 disengagement agreement, nor do we believe that it undermines the UNDO's mandate. Here is an insert.
The 1974 disengagement agreement, nor do we believe that it undermines UNDOF's mandate in any way. UNDOF continues to have a vital role to play in preserving stability between Israel and Syria, most importantly by ensuring that the area of separation is a buffer zone free from any military presence or activities other than those of UNDOF.
Syria's UN ambassador said Syrian Golan is ours. It will come back to us. Don't think that neither our land will be a part of a course agreement nor a part of elections. We will not be part of a game because they will take votes. At the same time, who they want will win the elections in Israel, and Israelis living in the U.S. will support the U.S. policy. The former driver in the Gambian army, Mafuji Sonko, was jailed 9 years after the November 11, 1994 coup. On Thursday, was gifted a land cash totaling $175,000. The money was raised by a UK-based Gambian, Yunus Haidara, after hearing Mafuji's testimony at the TRRC. At the presentation ceremony held at the TRRC headquarters in Kololi, Sonko smiled as he was roundly commended for his testimony. Saja Sambo has more.
Yunus Haidara, a Gambian based in UK, has raised $170,000 from Mafuji Sonko, a victim of the former regime, to help him fit in society. The money was handed to Mafuji through Dr. Sisi at a ceremony held at the Truth, Reconciliation, Reparation Commission headquarters. It could be recalled that Mafuji Sonko was a victim of the Jammeh regime, who was falsely accused of being part of the November 11, 1994 failed coup attempt and innocently castigated at the Mile 2 prisons from 9 solid years. Speaking at the presentation of the cars, the deputy chairperson of the commission, Adelaide Sosegei, said Mafuji was helpless and needed help after coming from prison only to find out that all his belongings are lost, whilst applauded the donor Yunus Haidara for organizing the fundraising process.
Who was called to drive officers, which he did. And in driving those officers, he landed himself into a mess which he could not extricate himself from. And it seemed as if he was just in a catch-22 bind. Because even though one of the officials had said he is not a part of this, there was somebody else who was determined to make him a part of it. And he spent the 9 years in prison. And then when he came out of prison, even to get his dues and to get himself reinstalled into the army became a major problem. So he has been suffering. We thank Yunus Haidara and all those people out there who reached out to Mahfoudji on his birthday. The day he testified was his birthday. And they made a fundraising for him. As they have said, we don't know what the money is there, but we do know that the TRRC needs allies.
The facilitator of the donation, Dr. Cisse, thanked the commissioners for suspending their proceedings and allowed the presentation to take place at their own grounds. Dr. Cisse said motivational support will be needed for the victims who are imprisoned in Mile 2 and also thanked the donor for stepping in with such an amount.
First of all, I would like to thank the TRRC, the commissioners, the lead counsel, and all those who work at the TRRC. This shows us that how Gambians are made of. You could have easily said no to this ceremony. You could have easily said Mahfoudji is a private citizen. Yunus is a private citizen. Do it at your own level. We have no business in this. But what this has demonstrated is that beyond you being commissioners and councils, you are also human beings. You are also Gambians. You are commissioners when you are in this room. When you go home, you are Gambians, you are human beings. You reflect deeply on the testimonies you hear here, and they affect you to some extent, either negatively or positively. But the true character is what Yunus has demonstrated, watching Mahfoudji, listening to Mahfoudji, knowing that this man has gone through tremendous torture, tremendous suffering, for nothing he has done, mobilized and raised $175,000 to be given to Mahfoudji. And that brings my talk to what Commissioner Sose was saying, reparations. Reparations is not only institutional. We Gambians can also take part in the reparations process. How? Not only through what Yunus has done, but by knowing that there's a victim who suffered, just going to his house, talking to him, comforting him. That alone is reparation, so that that person can have reconciliation with him or herself.
The beneficiary Mahfoudji Sonko thanked the TRRC Commissioner for contributing immensely. As he said, all this came thanks to the TRRC recommending his testimony, whilst used the platform to pray and thank the donor Yunus Haidara for coming up with such a huge amount he never came across in his life.
Ntela fansoto, aduntela kairo, aduntela longo ko hadama dingolo. TRRC la grupo soto ta wato menna fon nata aje kon te fonga hakilo soto pour kana TRRC pour ka diamu je kan nabata dali yita aning membe keru no nyem banko kan ngafo TRRC man forcé e mallipa e man dundi ko kuto fo kanadron e tol man forcé pour ngana ntele nata pour ngadiamu TRRC pour membe kering anin nabata da wo kono gambianol min ya lon koy tanyim bankun kan fo ibe bantala ye wokuma kangol moy adiyate aye kontan ye toñaaje inata faniyaaje abe larindame abe maborindamen inata wo faniyaaje ya fintindi abe maborindamen ka fayñamo kono na toña damma sabatindi woyatinna ye ñing hammo ni miro soto kañi ñon ko do ñing kafuñoma pour ka foko e ba dilantela.
Mahfoudji, he came out of prison after 9 years only to find out that his elder brother has sold his compound, was left homeless with his family. Will now have a home after the lead counsel Isa Fall promised him a land at Sanyang in Kombo South.
I have just heard what Mahfoudji said. He wants to use this money to buy a piece of land. I would give him that piece of land, free of charge. So let him use this money to try to build that land, try to build that house.
Sajo Sambo reporting for Africa TV News.
Well, viewers, on the same subject, we have Mr. Yunus Haidara online, a UK-based Gambian and the main organizer of the 2,800 goal fundraise for former soldier Mahfoudji Sonko as a gift for his 64th birthday. Good evening, Mr. Haidara. It's a pleasure to have you in the studio. First, I ask, what actually compelled you to come up with this initiative? I mean, out of all the people who testified before the TRRC, what made you believe that Mahfouz's case was a special one? We've lost Mr. Haidara. We'll link to him later before we end the recap of the stories. Ahmad Jangum has revealed how they were fooled by Yankuba Toure and Edward Singate by sending them away so that they can kill former Finance Minister Usman Koro Sise. Giving his testimony today at the TRRC, Ngom said he was deployed at Yankuba Toure's residence at Kesering as guard in June 1995. He said that fateful day, Yankuba Toure sent his family away to Edward Singate's house and his guards to the beach, paving the way for them to eliminate former Finance Minister. Al-Hassan Sise has more.
He was deployed at Yankuba Toure's residence at Kesering as a guard in June 1995. He said during his postings at Yankuba Toure's residence, one day Yankuba left to see off former AFPRC chairman Yaya Jammeh at the airport and later called to inform him he is sending his vehicle at his residence for him to drop his family at Edward Singate's residence in Bakau to attend a birthday party. He added Yankuba also told him they are expecting a boat of gun smugglers that they should go for a patrol at Fajara Beach to monitor the boat.
Whilst I was on guard there, one day the chairman of the AFPRC, Captain Yahya Jammeh, was traveling outside the country.
To where? Do you know?
No, I don't know where he was going.
Do you know what
but he was going outside the country.
Do you know what the mission was about?
No, I didn't know. So then...
Can you proceed, please?
That very day, the minister, Captain Yankuba Toure, left to the airport to see him off. Then later in the night, he called me. He said...
Who called you?
Sorry,
Who called you?
Sorry, Yankuba's wife called me and told me to come and answer a phone call.
What is the name of Yankuba's wife?
Mami Minte.
Proceed, please.
Let me come and answer to the call. So I went inside the sitting room and took the phone, and it was Yankuba on the line. He said, "Guard Commander." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, I'm sending my vehicle back home. There is a birthday party at Captain Edward's residence at Cape House.
Captain Edward who?
Singate.
Proceed, please.
So then I'm sending the vehicle. When he comes, you pick my family, drop them at Captain Edward's house. After dropping them, we also had an information that there is a boat that is coming into the country with arms and ammunition. So what you will do is, after dropping my family, then you be in civil dress and go on patrol at the beach side, alongside the Fajara beach side.
He added after dropping Yankuba Toure's family at Edward Singate's residence in Bakau, himself and two co-guards went to Fajara Beach to patrol around in view of monitoring the said boat. He remarked as they were patrolling, it was drizzling, and after being fed up of patrolling without any sign of a boat, they decided to go back to Yankuba's residence. Upon arrival, he saw a fleet of vehicles parked outside the residence. He added as they entered the premises, they saw Edward Singate coming out of the building in a wet American camouflage uniform with muddy shoes while smoking. They complimented him, and Edward instructed them to go back and continue the patrol.
So we went to the beach, we were patrolling. We continue patrolling. We were patrolling and it started raining, but it was not that much heavy rain.
This patrolling, quote unquote, what did that entail? Can you explain what you were doing?
I just checking the beach side. As he said, there is a boat coming with arms and ammunition. So we were checking around the seaside whether we will see any boat that was coming.
Did you see any boat carrying weapons?
No, we didn't see anything.
And what happened after it began to drizzle?
So I was fed up with the patrol. Then I told my men to go back.
To go back where?
To go back to the residence.
Which residence?
Yankuba's residence.
Did you in fact do that?
Yes, sir.
Kindly tell us what happened.
We went. When we arrived at the residence, I saw a fleet of vehicles parked outside the compound. So I used the main gate to get inside.
How many gates were there?
There are two gates. You have the big gate and a small gate.
So
at the middle of the building.
Okay. All right. Can you proceed?
So when I get into the main gate, because if you get into the main gate, you go direct to the garage, and the garage is where our guard room is. So before I reach to the garage, I saw Edu came outside, Edward Singate, Captain Edward Singate, and he stood near the flowers. He was smoking. Then I complimented him. I said, "Good evening, sir." He says, "Yes, good evening. How are you?" "Fine, sir."
And what was his condition when you saw him?
Well, he was putting on American camo, but the uniform is wet.
What is American camo?
American camo it's an American uniform. You call it American camouflage.
Yes.
That's why we say American camo.
And you say it was in which condition?
He was wet.
Did you see his shoes?
Yes, I saw his shoes.
In what condition were they?
There were mud on his shoes.
You saw mud?
Yes,
on
mud
his shoes.
Yeah.
And the uniform was wet?
Yes.
Did you have a conversation with him apart from complimenting him, "Good evening, sir"?
Yes, he told us to return back and continue the patrol.
Captain Ahmad Jangom further revealed that the following day, Mami Minte, Yankuba's wife, brought a newspaper with the news that Osman Koro Sise was found dead in his burnt Mercedes-Benz. He added when he got the news, he couldn't reflect on what occurred the previous day, but the moment he heard on Freedom newspaper that Usman Koro Sise was killed in Yankuba's residence by former spokesperson of the AFPRC, Ibu Jallo, that's the time he reflected. He emphasized the information given by Freedom newspaper that the guards were fooled and sent away to create an opportunity for the murder to take place without a witness was true.
And what happened the next day?
The next day, Mommy, the wife of Yankuba, Mommy brought a newspaper. He said, "Have you heard what had happened?" He said, "What happened?" They said they found the former, I don't know, the finance minister, but he was found around Jambanjeli or Jambur in the bush, in his Mercedes-Benz, and his body was burned down. Then we also I took the newspaper and I read the newspaper.
And how did you feel when you read the newspaper?
It was sad.
Were you surprised?
Yes, I was surprised, definitely.
When you saw that, did you think back about what had happened previously?
No, I don't think back, because by then there was no rumors about, until I heard from Freedom newspaper that this former spokesperson, Ibu Jallo, was saying that the minister was killed in Yankuba's house, but they fooled the guards. So that's the time my mind recalled that very particular day.
Which minister? You said Minister of Finance.
Finance, Koro Sise.
Yes. So when you read that on the Freedom newspaper,
yeah,
did you believe the story?
Yeah, I believe the story.
Why did you believe the
because
story?
What had happened that very day.
You believe it was
Yes.
correct that
Yes, this was
the
correct.
guards were fooled?
Fool, yes, sir, I believe that.
And sent away?
Yes, sir.
To create an opportunity
Yes, sir.
for the murder to occur
Yes, sir.
without a witness?
Yes, sir.
Captain Ahmad Jangom was one time a guard at Yankuba Toure's residence. He joined the Gendarmerie in 1987 and rose through the ranks up to captain. Reporting for iAfrica TV, I am Alhassan Sise.
A very shocking revelation by Jangom on how they were actually manipulated by Yankuba Toure in order for them to carry out the killing of Usman Koro Sise. Meanwhile, let's get back to Mr. Haidara.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me now?
Good evening, Mr. Haidara. As I asked in the previous communication we had, what actually compelled you to take up this initiative? I mean, out of all the people that testified before the TRRC, what made you believe that Mahfouji's case was a very special one?
Hello, thank you. That's a good question. Good evening to your viewers. I am a strong advocate for justice for all victims in the Gambia, and thus I am a staunch follower and supporter of the TRRC. So I've watched almost every victim's testimony, and I feel so sorry for them. What happened to them should not happen to any of them, and I'm deeply sorry about what they've encountered. But I believe Fuji has a unique story that was also propelled by a great personality. I believe he is one of the most innocent victim at the time that's appeared on the TRRC. It was his birthday, and his story touched many people because he was jailed for a crime that he was declared innocent from the start, but he was still jailed and forgotten for 9 years. He was an imam at one point at the prisons, but even that was insufficient for him to be remembered and his innocence to be shown so that he can be released to go and be with his family. He served his prison terms. He went through horrendous situations of any kind that you can imagine, and he still emerged from that. He lost all dues. He lost his job, and he was on the streets as a destitute. His brother sold their family home. Him and his wife were literally homeless. So I believe this is the little thing that I can do to help him. So over the years in my social media activities and during the struggle, I become somehow known to the Gambian people. And I've raised funds before for the struggle to change the government. I raised funds for the coalition government. So I thought I can do the same, and hopefully people will respond based on the genuinity of the cause today, and help him.
How do you feel today seeing your idea become a success just 17 days after its initiation with 164 donors?
The feeling is really overwhelming. I could not believe how I feel all day. Like everyone is happy that collectively we have sent a message to the whole world that we are a poor country and we are a poor nation, we are poor people, but we have each other. And during times of despair and severe distress, we can collaborate and come together as one people and help someone. So that's the take-home message for me from this, that we are great people as a Gambian, and we are generous and a decent society. We just have to make that value more pronounced in the Gambia, in our activity.
Do we see more of these gestures coming in to support more victims of the past 22 years regime of the Jammeh to be facilitated by you actually? We've lost Mr. Haidara, hopefully to get him back before we end the bulletin. Coming up after the break, European Union doesn't recognize Israel's claim of sovereignty over the Golan Heights, the head of the EU delegation to Turkey said on Wednesday.
diwli lanni maaro lanni
fop lanni
awa joni mi anda honno guerdeten e ngal ɗo sabu e ngal ɗo Ibrahima jonnal taw joni mi anda se yahay kapitiki ñawloɗen ha humpodire e makko est ce que on noon e warude
waɗen noon awa
ane ko de Ibrahima ma ko to woni
mo Amérique
ko Amérique a woni kadi humpitaki fiɓe musidɓe men baluwo
baluwo
ɓe andanɗa kala ko wawɗa wonde e aduna o si a rewi e juuɗe maɓɓe a jonnay ɗo dépassement o Gambia hara no weeɓi a yahata kadi taw ko mbuɗi ɗi no ƴawi walla no jippi ɓe haalantama ko kala ko falɗa ko sengo ñamete ini nebba maaro basal pomme de terre kala ko rewi ɗon a hendoto hara no weeɓi kadi wona ɗum ɗon tum ɓe jonnira e mobile phone siko ɗum kadi laptop kala ko wayrode ɗi hay kasbawa ɓe wawma jonnude kadi sa fala humpitade ko weeɓi ƴetti Google account ma on joni data ton waɗa download app maɓɓe on ayiyay kala ko humpima e maɓɓe ton ɓe weeɓi hama
ka wonɗa wo e aduna on
kala ko wawɗa
a jonnanayi wonɗo ka leydi men Gambia ɗo dépense
hara no weeɓi hama si ɗum non fof no neeɓi immoɗen joni mi ɗowtama ka place maɓɓe janda
waɗen joni
iya heɓa ko falata
waɗen kisam.
Welcome back. We remind you that you're watching the World Today Evening Bulletin. Let's now take a look at the remaining stories. U.S. President Donald Trump has demanded that Russian forces get out of Venezuela following Moscow's deployment of troops and equipment to the Latin American nation. Trump made the remarks while hosting Fabiana Rosales, the wife of Venezuelan National Assembly President Juan Guaido, at the White House yesterday. Asked how he would make Russian forces leave, Trump said, "We'll see. All options are open." Here is an insert.
Very much. It's a great honor to have the First Lady of Venezuela. She's been through a tremendous, she's been through a lot, let's put it that way. She's been through what people don't want to have to go through and should never have to go through. But I just want to say we're going to have a terrific conversation. We already have, and a lot of progress is being made with all of the problems. A tremendous amount of progress is being made. We are with Venezuela. We are with your husband, as you know, and we're with the people that he represents, which is a big majority of the country. What's happening there should not happen and be allowed to happen anywhere. So we're with you 100%. Okay? It'll be fine. Steve?
Mr. President, what sort of complications does the Russian involvement now pose?
Russia has to get out. What's your next question?
Mr. President, are you thinking of increasing pressure on Venezuela, and how will you do that?
Say it.
Are you thinking of increasing pressure on Venezuela, and how will you do that?
Well, they've got a lot of pressure right now. They have no money, they have no oil, they have no nothing. They got plenty of pressure right now, so we'll see. They have no electricity, and other than military, you can't get any more pressure than they have. Unfortunately, a lot of people are starving. They don't take the aid. Maduro won't take aid. We've sent hundreds of millions of dollars worth of aid to the border. He won't take the aid. He'd rather have his people starve than take the aid. I don't think that's good, even from a political standpoint. Even from a dictator standpoint, I don't think that's good.
The European Union doesn't recognize Israel's claim of sovereignty over the Golan Heights, the head of the EU delegation to Turkey said on Wednesday. Christian Berger told reporters that during a visit to Turkey's eastern city of Malatya that the High Representative for Foreign Security Policy of the European Union, in the name of the European Union, reaffirmed the position of the European Union that we do not recognize the sovereignty of Israel over the Golan Heights.
I think the European Union responded today. The High Representative for Foreign Security Policy of the European Union, in the name of the European Union, reaffirmed the position of the European Union that we do not recognize the sovereignty of Israel over the Golan Heights in line with international law, and in particular with United Nations Security Council Resolution 242 from 1967 and Resolution 497 from 1981. This is the position of the European Union. It has been the position for many, many years, and we reaffirmed it today. The European Union and Turkey have the same views on this issue. And Mrs. Mogherini, the High Representative for Foreign Security Policy of the European Union, issued a statement today in the name of the European Union, restating the position that the Union has held for many years, and the same position Turkey has held for many years, that the European Union does not recognize the sovereignty of Israel over the Golan Heights.
That was Christian Berger of the EU on the push and pull between Israel and Syria on the Golan Heights. Mauritanian police on Thursday broke up a protest in capital Nouakchott in which demonstrators called for reform of the country's election commission in advance of presidential polls slated for later this year. Protesters chanted slogans against the commission, demanding the formulation of an impartial committee to oversee the elections. Mauritanian police on Thursday broke up a protest in capital Nouakchott in which demonstrators called for reform of the country's election commission in advance of presidential polls slated for later this year. Protesters chanted slogans against the commission, demanding the formulation of an impartial committee to oversee the elections. On Wednesday, Mauritania's main opposition coalition openly accused the commission of bias, casting doubt on its ability to conduct impartial polls. Speaking to reporters in Nouakchott, coalition head Mohamed Oud Mouloud said the opposition was vastly underrepresented on the commission in its current form. In a letter sent to the Interior Ministry last month, several Mauritanian opposition figures urged the government to foster an appropriate atmosphere for the upcoming polls. Meanwhile, former Mauritanian Prime Minister Sidi Mohamed Ould Boubacar on Saturday announced that he will run in the presidential election. I will propose my vision on the country's issues and ways to deal with them during the official announcement ceremony to be organized in the next few days, Boubacar said in a statement. Boubacar said he will run in the vote as an independent candidate following consultations with a number of political parties without elaborating. Boubacar served as a prime minister twice from 1992 to 1996 and from 2005 to 2007. The National Rally for Reform and Development, an Islamic opposition party, has taken the decision to support Boubacar, a source from the party told Anadolu agency under condition of anonymity. In January, incumbent Mauritanian President Mohamed Ould Abdel Aziz announced that he would not run in elections, dismissing the notion of constitutional changes to allow him to run for a third term in office. Well, viewers, that's all we have for you on the World Today Evening Bulletin. For more on these and other stories, kindly log on to our website, iAfrica.tv. I am Fatmata Jaju. Bye for now. Kindly stay tuned for our upcoming programs.